I've got 100 priorities, but 10 of them are really serious priorities. And
Hmm.
that's not only what it means to be a dad, a husband, a business owner, but also the most important thing, and I think we all forget about it, is yourself.
Yeah,
We always let
totally.
everything in front of ourselves, and I can't forget about myself.
First off, welcome back to another episode of the Kettlebell Guys podcast. I got a special guest with me, Mike. I'm not going to try to say your last name because I just don't know how to say it. How do I say your last name?
Well, it's pretty easy. It's Massey.
Massey. Okay. I didn't know where the accent was. Massey. Mike Massey.
Yeah.
Mike, you're joining us from Sacramento. Is that?
Actually, Lake Tahoe on the Nevada side.
Okay. Lake Tahoe. Okay. Well, you give me the bio because I obviously don't know how to say your name or where you live. So fill us in, man. Who are you? What do you do? Give us a little info and then we'll get into some questions.
Yeah, first of all, thank you so much for the chat today. I was super excited when I got Grant's note saying, "Hey, Sean wants to talk to you." And I was like, "Uh-oh, did I do something wrong?" And he said, "No, I'm just supposed to have a conversation with you." So, again, feel very privileged to be with you today and just chat. My name is Mike Massey. My wife and I have 5 adult kids. We both manage 2 businesses that seem to take a lot of our time, but we're very fortunate. We live up in the Lake Tahoe on the Nevada side, a little town called Incline Village. And,
Cool.
We're blessed with being up here in the wintertime with snow activities. In the summer and spring and fall, outdoors, we're on the lake doing paddle boards, doing swimming, just being out there
Amazing.
hiking, biking. So for us, we're a little spoiled. We literally just go right out the door and we're in God's land. So
That's nice.
that's kind of us in a handbasket.
Yeah. Well, what do you do? I mean, what's your business? You said you own 2 businesses. Do you own them with your wife or you own 2 and she owns 2?
No. We've been in business together for about 30 years, and we own
Amazing.
a public affairs, government relations business out of
Okay.
Washington, D.C. So we do a lot of internal lobbying, working in Congress. We
Okay.
also do work in Sacramento and throughout California and Nevada. And that is our company called Charter Smart, which is a public relations dedicated to helping charter schools and parent advocacy groups tell their awesome stories about themselves and their students and their achievements in the school choice movement. So again, I'm very lucky. You'd have to ask my wife. I feel very lucky that she's there as the pillar of strength, but also managing some terrific clients. And at times it is difficult being with each other 24/7, but
Yeah.
I would never change. And I'm very lucky to have her support in this program.
Yeah. It's amazing that you guys have raised 5 kids and also ran 2 businesses together for 30 years. I mean, what a partnership.
Yeah. And I think it's a reflection now as our kids are graduating college, having families themselves, getting married, moving out, buying first homes, how quickly it changes. We sit back and we look at photos and the kids were so small and now
Uh,
they've grown up to become successful adults themselves. So it's a nice pat on the back for her and I. But on the other hand, it's a big sign that you have to be very grateful for what you have in the moment. And you can't spend too much time thinking in the past and you can't do too much time thinking in the future. So it's given us that lesson of just learning to live everything in the moment.
Man, I didn't know we were going to turn this into a deep,
Oh,
deep conversation, which we should, because this
yeah.
is honestly stuff that I think really matters. We'll obviously get to the fitness side of things, but
Yeah.
I always love talking to guys, especially guys who are a little bit further ahead in their journey than I am, who have kids, who have that perspective that you can share. Because I find myself often, focused on my business and trying to serve our clients. And, we've got 2 young kids. And I was in South Carolina. My wife and I went to Kiowa Island, and we were in the middle of our worst week in business that we've had in over a year. And I was riding a tandem bike with my 4-year-old on the beach in South Carolina. If you've ever been to Kiowa Island, it's a massive beach and it's packed really hard so you can ride your bike on it. And it's just beautiful. I mean, it was a beautiful day. And I was so frustrated because I was thinking about my business and I'm like, what am I doing? I'm here with my family. I'm riding these tandem bikes. I've got my 4-year-old son behind me. I'm never going to get this back. Why am I letting this other stuff take over my mind space? So it's really just great to hear from you, that reminder that no, stay focused in the present, just
Yeah.
absorb that.
And I think, the story you shared there was ones that we've had multiple times, and you literally have to just take a time out, turn off the phone, don't clear your head, don't worry about the challenges that you're experiencing with your business, but, focusing on the kids and your family. And, I think as I'm getting older, I'm becoming more wiser. I wish I would have discovered this when I was young like you and having a young family, but it all hits us differently. I'm very fortunate that I can really appreciate what my wife and I have built, not only in our family life, but also in our professional life as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like when you're in the moment, it's hard to focus in the moment. But then when you get past it and you look back on it, you're like, man, I should have been more focused there. And so it's like every day and every moment, you have to remind yourself to focus on the present instead of projecting out or worrying about things that you did wrong in business or whatever.
And just to transition, that's why this program that you and Sean have created have also taught me to live in the moment, because as you start getting older, you realize that the opportunity you have to create a healthy self becomes limited. And the time is for folks my age in the mid 50s, the time's ticking. And if you don't start taking care of yourself, not only your body, but spiritually, there'll be one day where you'll sit back and go, wow, I should have taken advantage of it. So that's why I'm very grateful that, you folks have come into my life personally. I have to, and I always do, and I think he blushes every time I see him in person or we're on our weekly calls. But Coach Brett Jones has just been amazing. He's given me not only confidence and encouragement, and thrown a lot of dad joke humor into that as well. So,
Right.
but I think that's what's so unique about this program and so powerful about this program is not only the leadership that you folks bring and Coach Brett brings, but the community. I was just talking to my wife the other day and I said, Grant just sent me a text, or Sean just posted something on the community page. And again, I don't know how many folks are involved in this program, and I can imagine you folks are busy working, but when you take time out and just send a note of encouragement or an LOL on a dumb meme that I posted. Again, I know there's a lot of people that you folks work with, but at times I sometimes feel like I'm the only person in this program.
Yeah. That's great,
and
man.
The fact that you guys really reach out and give us that attaboy or keep going.
Yeah.
That's a lot, especially when you look at your daily app and you realize that how many two-hand swings do I have to do today? And I text or I'll send a note to Brecco. I think there was a error.
Was there a typo?
Are we really doing 120? So, and he goes, yep, be up, have fun.
Yeah. Yeah. There you go.
Again, much applause to you and the entire team. And again, it's not just Coach Jones, it's the other coaches, like with this summer accelerator. Did I get it right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Those Fridays that we're working out with other different coaches,
is that fun?
They're brutal, but they're fun. And like I come out of those and I'm just ready for the world.
Yeah.
And so again, it's all part of this unique program that you folks have afforded us. And I'm really grateful.
Well, thank you for sharing that. And, one of our core values is transformational service. And our belief is that starts with coaches who care. And if the coaches truly care, like actually care about you as a human being, first and foremost, then they can actually understand you and help you to make the fitness changes and the nutrition changes you need to make. But if there's no understanding and there's no value in the relationship, then it's just a transactional thing. And that's not going to get people very far, in our opinion. So Brett lives that for sure. We know that, and Grant and I, obviously we do everything we can to live that ourselves, but also recruit coaches who live that as well. Yes, you need to be able to coach kettlebells, but first and foremost, you gotta really want to help people. And if you want to do that, then we can teach you how to coach kettlebells, better, teach you how to coach nutrition better, but it starts there. So to know that comes across that's very nice. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah. And again, I kind of discovered that when I went to the boot camp in Austin back earlier this month, and to meet all the different coaches, but also to see the other men that were out there, some that had the same backgrounds or similar situations, and others that were completely different. But you could see with the group of coaches that were taking you one-on-one on the mat when we were working out or we were stretching, to those other gentlemen that are in the same type of journey that I am, and understanding the whole program, that it truly is a brotherhood. Again, something just really lucky to have found.
Yeah. Well, speaking of finding KT, help me understand, where were you at before KT? And I guess, like, ultimately, why did you seek us out? Why did you choose to move forward with KT? Or what were you even looking for when you joined?
Good question. I'll try to keep it into the Cliff Note version.
Yeah.
My journey started about 2 years ago. My wife and I looked at ourselves in the mirror prior to our son getting married and realizing that those wedding photos weren't going to be looking good until we did some work ourselves. Fortunate, we were able to lose weight. We were able to get in those suits and dresses that we had wanted to. But after the wedding, we said, let's continue this journey. Let's not go back into our old selves. And so about a year and a half later, I lost about 55 pounds.
Oh, wow.
And I was really happy. My wife had lost weight. We were both happy where we were, again, professionally as well as personally. But I wanted to do something more because I realized that, the programs that we were doing, and I was exhausted. I mean, I was doing like 2 hours of cardio a day, jogging, eating right and doing what needed to be done, but I just felt exhausted. And so I continued doing that, and I could never get past my barrier of about 200 pounds. And I knew I needed to lose that extra 25, and it didn't matter what I did. We're big into biohacking, the sauna, we got the cold plunge outside, we're doing all that fun stuff, and it was helpful. But the outcome wasn't happening. And so we do a lot of research on us in the health area. And it wasn't until you guys popped up, I think, on a feed, like many testimonials, all of a sudden I'm like, who's this guy Grant? And why is Sean popping up in my feed all the time? And so I just added you guys to the research mix and started figuring out. And I think one thing that I had never done leading up to that was lifting heavy. Maybe I would go and use the machines in the gym and feel like, oh, I did that. But most of it was dedicated towards cardio because I was like, I don't want to be that super like strong man on the beach kicking sand on little kids. But I started researching, and this is where your program really dovetailed, that's where you lose fat, that's where you gain strength, and that's where you become very mobile. And for me at my age, mobility was a huge issue. Yeah. And so as much as we were doing all these things, I looked at it as more of a shotgun approach of everything from swimming to doing cardio to doing a little bit of weightlifting, jogging. I needed something more with laser focused and something that was a built-in program that worked. And so I said, you know what, let me explore this a little bit further. And through your team, you were able to kind of give me some ideas on what the program was about, but also what my commitment had to be. You guys talk about the big guarantee you have. That only works when you apply it on a daily aspect and you're committed to it. And again, I was committed to doing what needed to be done. I had already shown that, but I needed to find something that was laser focused for me. And I did that. And the first 2 weeks in my transition period, Coach Jones sat down. Here I'm calling him Coach Jones. He's younger than I am. Coach Brett. Coach Brett sat back and said, here's your expectations. This is what we're expecting of you. And you need to have those expectations for you. And I remember laughing at the program thinking, and getting those first round of kettlebells delivered to my house and lugging them into the house thinking, well, I have no idea what these are for, but we'll just put these over here in the corner. But again, it was the whole aspect of not only the lifting and training, but understanding the commitment you folks had in me. I mean, Hume's scale is huge. It's the first thing I think of when I wake up every morning. And I didn't realize, and I'll share a funny story with you, I didn't realize how that darn scale would really play into the entire day of focusing on not only your weight, your body percentage, and all the other different metrics.
Yeah.
story about the Hume. So our second month in, our first month into the program, we were going on a cruise. It was our first cruise ever, never been on a cruise. And so I packed that Hume because I knew it was part of the program. So a lot of the times when we were on it, I couldn't get a thing. So I asked my wife, who's the big techie, I'm like, why isn't this thing registering? And she goes, because we're on a boat and we're going up and down. And so I could only weigh myself when we went into port and the boat was still. But it was
Perfect.
things like that I figured out that I have to be flexible in this
Yeah.
entire program. But no, the lifting, the app that comes together, the support system, let me say this correctly so people don't misunderstand me. It is a simple program. It's not easy, but it is a simple program once you apply what you folks have put together, and you can do the daily and weekly goals. And I think that's the reason why I've lost the weight I've intended to. I've built more muscle tone. I feel more comfortable. I think the only big challenge for me was I had to get rid of a ton of clothes and go buy new clothes
Yeah.
because
Sorry about that.
no, it's all good. The funny thing is you can't cinch the belt anymore on the pants. You have to go out and say, well, I'm going to go buy some nice. I had to take all my suits and go get them redone, retailored. And that was all good. And
Yeah.
again, it was kind of a healthy reminder that I'm doing something right and I'm in the
Yeah.
right program.
Yeah. Love that. So you feel like the app, the coaching, the simplified program, did that give you the laser focus that you felt like you were missing with your more shotgun approach?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Huge.
Again, I wake up every day and in my mind, I'm figuring out what do I need to do? What is the workout schedule need? Do I need to do it in the morning? Do I need to wait till the afternoon when I'm done with client calls? Or can I figure out how to get those 10,000 steps in before the next snow flurry comes in at 7 o'clock at night? And believe me, I have made since day one, I've done my 10,000 steps regardless, never used a single excuse.
Well done.
I even had to put in sometimes my snowshoes and go out there. My wife's like, you're crazy. And I was like, sorry, got to
Yeah.
get it done.
Yes, I
Put on
am.
my little light lamp
Love
and
that.
just focused. A couple of times I thought I saw some bears
Yeah.
or some.
Got a bear, California.
It makes you get those steps in a lot quicker. But regardless, yeah, the whole program allowed me to become, and I think this is what was unique too, very flexible with my current personal and professional habits and schedule.
Yeah.
And that was a real key aspect. Again, I come down to it being a simple program. I've always eaten healthy. I'm a chef by trade. Living with 5 kids, you
Yeah.
learn very
Yeah.
quickly, as well as taking some culinary classes myself. But the part which always seemed to create a challenge for me was when it got too much on a real complex menu or meal, or even trying to weigh all the food, especially as I was on my travel schedule. This was it.
That helped.
That's protein, or
Really?
you should
Yeah.
get your healthy carbs here. That was something I could easily do. And then focus it back, put it in the app, it all figures it out. And then I can see on my daily diet schedule and the metrics, what did I need to do for my dinner? Or what did I need to do for the next day?
Yeah.
Yeah, all those different components really kind of put it together and allowed me to be laser focused.
Yeah, it's really interesting that you talk through how you needed to be flexible, but you also had like specific things that you knew you needed to get done. So you woke up in the morning, you said, okay, where am I going to slot these things in? I know what my list is. I might not be able to do it at the exact same time every day. And like, this is something I tell people about nutrition. I'm always thinking about my next meal, not in like an obsessive way, but in like it's important to me to eat healthy.
Right.
And so I need to know what my next healthy meal is going to be, because if I know that I don't have that prepared, well, that's an issue. I need to solve for that. And it's the same thing with working out. You got to be able to look at your calendar and say, when am I going to get it in? I know what I need to do. So you've already removed that barrier that I think a lot of people face, which is like, oh my gosh, I don't want to have to figure out what I'm supposed to do. And like, who knows if that's even going to be right? You've already removed all those issues. You already know that you have the right workout, the right weights, the right technique, part of a bigger plan. That's so much mental load, mental stress gone from you. So now all you have to do is, when am I going to slot it in? That's it. And then you pull it up and you're like, oh my God, I have to do 120 swings. Oh, I don't know about that. Brett. And he's like, yep, do it. And you're like, okay, fine. And then you do it. So there's just a lot less. That's why I think when you say it's simple, it's not easy. You still have to do the work, right? The work itself is not easy, although I would argue that doing a 30 to 40-minute kettlebell workout is easier than running for 2 hours. I mean, I think so.
Yeah.
I've run a marathon. I know how grueling those long, 20-mile runs can be. But I think it's really interesting to hear you talk about the flexibility side of things, because I feel like a lot of people, they worry like, I don't want to become obsessed about this. It's like, well, you're not going to be obsessed, but you are going to think about it consistently, because that's what it takes. You have to plan this stuff into your daily life. And every day is a new day that you have to be able to plan it, especially if you're a business owner like you and you know that like, my schedule's pretty fluid, man. It's not like I'm doing the same thing every day. I got to figure out where I got that little window. And to know that you're doing that, that's probably why you're succeeding. Because every day you're like, what do I got to do? Where am I going to do it?
Yeah. It comes out in the results. I've been doing this now for 6 months. I just finished the initial program, and this month I began the Bridge Mastery.
Yeah.
And again, I never thought I was going to be lifting this heavy. And it's amazing, again, those heavy kettlebells that I dragged in, I'm now 6 months ago, I'm now using them.
Yes.
How's that feel? On the different types of swings, I'm having to buy its partner. So I've got left and right now ready to go.
Yes.
And so that's pretty cool. So, but the flexibility is a big issue. And I think that is something that most folks don't really consider that commitment to themselves.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's huge because, again, you have to wake up in the morning and you have to think, what are your priorities? And I've got 100 priorities, but 10 of them are really serious priorities.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not only what it means to be a dad, a husband, a business owner, but also the most important thing, and I think we all forget about it, is yourself.
Yeah.
We always let everything get in front of ourselves. And I think this is where I'm having the idea of that flexibility come more into my life is I can't forget about myself. So it's either going to be done in the morning, the afternoon, or the early evening, but we're going to get it done.
It's not negotiable.
That's the promise I made with myself. So,
and that Brett told you that you made, right? I mean, that's what Brett said to you on the first call. You said you made a promise to yourself. This is what you're going to show up and do.
Yeah. And again, just going back to the food element, because I think that's the one easy slip.
Yeah.
Because if you don't think about, and I do mine, again, cooking for 5 kids and being entertainers in our backyard when we were growing up. I went to culinary school. My wife said, I'm not cooking bar, and boom, she sent me off. So I spent many weekends in Napa, Sonoma, San Francisco, learning kind of the background.
Yeah, that sounds pretty awesome.
Not that I was going to do it professionally, but how to learn how to cook healthy for five kids and again, an entertaining group of family and friends. But you have to plan the day before. And sometimes that means sitting down with a piece of paper and saying, what do I need to do to prep for the meal? Do I have to go to the grocery store because I don't have it? It's learning how to plan, because I think, and again, I fell into this routine too, is, by the time the evening gets around, you're so exhausted. If you haven't planned that, what are you doing? You're taking a frozen pizza and throwing it in the oven and saying, come on, kids, it's time to eat.
Totally.
You're letting down them, but you're also letting down yourself. And again, I understand everybody's got tremendously, but if you can plan that meal a day ahead and figure out, okay, what proteins do I need to have for lunch and dinner that are hitting my marks? What are my sides that aren't coming out of a box or a can?
Mm-hmm.
And so again, I really make a big push for why eating sensible, eating smart, and eating healthy is so much part of this program.
Couldn't agree more. And what you just explained there, I feel like is what every guy has to wrap their head around, is like that is just what it takes. There's no other way. Sure, there are some shortcuts. You could have meal delivery services do that stuff for you. And maybe that is what you should do, depending on your skills or just the amount of time you're willing to invest. But there's no other way to have the health you want other than eating healthy foods consistently. That just, there's not a substitute for that. There are a few different ways you can get that, but there has to be intention. There has to be. Like you said, if you end up at dinner and you have nothing planned and you don't have anything available, you're probably going to end up making choices that don't align with what you actually want. And so that's why there has to just be a little bit of foresight. But once you wrap your head around that and you just like make that okay, and you just accept that that's how it is, it becomes a lot easier for you to, okay, fine, I'll do that now. But let me ask you, because I think this is interesting. You mentioned how obviously you've got a history of learning how to cook, cooking for your family, but you were plateaued at your weight loss goals when you joined KT. Do you feel like things have changed, or what do you feel like gave you that extra? Because I know I think you said you were 200 when you joined, or maybe fill me in. Where were you at when you joined, and where are you at now? And what was the big difference?
When I joined KT in December of 2025, so that's 6 months ago,
Yeah.
I was at 200.
Okay.
And it didn't matter what I did, what I ate, I could never get down past that barrier of 200. But I knew I needed to be kind of in that 175 to 180. And again, going out, assessing my unique situation with Coach Brett, we nailed it on as it was going to be 180. Today I'm at 175, but the whole plan is it's not just about losing weight. It's about building the strength and the muscle back into where you feel comfortable. So that's where I am right now as I'm working into Bridge Mastery, focusing in on building 10 pounds, gaining 10 pounds of muscle now. So that's something I never thought of. It was just always like, let's try to lose as much weight as possible. But in the bigger picture, that's, losing weight's great. It might be easy to do for some folks. For others, it's tremendously difficult. But I knew what I had done. So going back to your initial question is, I just started focusing more on what this program was about. I know you encourage 3 meals a day with snacks, but for me, I'm a 2-mealer.
Yeah.
I have
What are your meals?
Very big lunch. I'm more on the carnivore side
Okay.
with a couple of healthy sides from time to time. But I realized that I just had to focus in on those meals, eat slowly, eat correctly. The other thing that your program, I never thought when I looked at this is another thing I joked around with Coach Brett, 98 ounces of water? Are you kidding me? Maybe I used to do that in coffee alone, but you're asking me to drink that in water. When you do that, it not only cleanses you, but you find that you're not hungry all the time. It kind of fills that gap. And that was just something for me myself. Others, it could be entirely different. But I just focused in on the 2 meals, and I've never been a big dessert eater ever, but sometimes I get that little before early in the evening after dinner, and I'll have some pasture raised yogurt with some organic honey and maybe some blueberries or a little banana, and I'm good. And so I'm never famished because I'm eating correctly and I'm eating the times that my body wants it. Because again, I try to do my workouts and my walking in the morning and my body doesn't need it right there.
Yeah. So you tend to, if you can, you work out and walk in the mornings, then you have lunch and then you have dinner. That's kind of your routine consistently.
That's the routine. Life doesn't always give you routine.
Not always.
When the client says, we have an emergency call, and you're anticipating that call to be a half an hour, and all of a sudden you're in your second hour and you're like, okay, I think I'm going to have to kick this into the afternoon.
Right.
Or I'm going to have to do the walks late at night and just bundle up and go do it.
Right. So what's given you have you always been disciplined in that sense that like you're just going to shift things around as you need to, or has it helped to have the accountability from Brett and the structure of knowing what you needed to do? Or talk to me about that.
Well, I think it's twofold. Number one, I've always been flexible because owning your own business, as you know, it's never a 9-to-5 job.
No.
I have clients back on Capitol Hill. They start their day at 9 a.m. their time, 6 a.m. my time.
Yeah, it's a 5 to 9 job, 5 a.m. to 9 p.m.
Yeah, maybe. But then the other thing is I have West Coast clients. So those folks that are at the state capitol are calling me at 6 o'clock and to finish off the day. So it's a long thing. And so I think professionally, I've always been disciplined and understanding that you have to be flexible if you want to be successful. And this was just another part of the program. Again, being simple, you can find those blocks of time or what you need to do to just pop those in. But I think at the end of the day, it was the promise I made to myself. That was the key driver is when I signed up for this program in December, I said, there was quite an investment. Yeah. I was not going to cheat myself by cheating on the ends. There's sometimes when it calls for 5 get-ups. And I'm on 3 and I'm like, I could just call it a day. And I go, you know what? 90 seconds of rest, swig some water, get back down and get that bell launched. We're going for the next two. And again, maybe it's where I am, but I find the will to just get it done.
Love that, man. I think a lot of that, I mean, obviously that says a lot about your character. And I think you're right. I've actually done a few of these interviews like this very recently. And all of the guys, first off, we've only been asking guys to come on who are succeeding, as you could probably imagine. All of the guys who are succeeding are saying the same things. What you just said, they're saying, I made a commitment to myself, and it's not always been perfect, and I haven't always wanted to do it. And sometimes I've had to dig real deep, but I'm committed to doing it. And I think that's like, that's this thing where, I think there's a commitment component to the investment as you just mentioned, right? It's not an insignificant amount of money that you would put in and say, okay, I'm going to invest this to help myself stay accountable, to get the coaching and structure I need. But it's also just, you have to bring a level of personal, I don't know what the right word is. Commitment is obviously a good word, but just like, not going to give up on myself here. I'm going to do what's asked of me, which is why I love hearing that Brett, sort of said on the first call to you, like, here's what you have to do in this program. You're like, okay, good. That's what I need. Right. So, but good for you, man. I just, for what it's worth, I oftentimes get through 3 get-ups and think I could just phone it in right here. But you know what I think to myself? I think if I post a green check mark in the group after only doing 3 out of my 5 get-ups, am I going to kind of feel like I maybe cheated that a little bit? And so I just do the other 2 get-ups.
Well, you saw last week was a hectic week work-wise, but my last workout was supposed to be on Friday. It didn't happen until Sunday morning. But I posted on there, I was like 4 checks. I was getting this thing done before the end of the week. And you popped in there and said, awesome job, good job. Grant came in and said, keep it up. Next week's even brutal. And then Coach Brett had sent me a side note saying, you have no clue what you're into for this week. But you know what? And it's not like a scare tactic. It's kind of a goof for me. And I think Coach Brett knows me now. It's an encouragement. It's like he knows I love challenges, and really pushes the envelope with me. Going, you're going to have some real heavy weights to lift. We'll see if you can do it. And I know he's just challenging because
Brett.
You guys are in my ear when I'm doing these. The last Friday's Summer Accelerator, Coach Mike, and boy, he was on me for my bear, what is it? The bear claws?
Bear crawl. Yeah.
Bear crawls, not bear claws. And, he's like, you're out there in Tahoe, you're in this, and that's what you're giving us? And again,
boy,
I'll get this done.
Oh,
I might not be able to chew gum and walk at the same time, but I'm going to do what I got to do. And so, again, each of these coaches knows how to pull your chain in a productive, positive way of challenging you and just saying, you got more in you. Let's get it done.
Love that, man. So you got the kettlebells delivered. You're thinking, what the heck are these big weights doing? What am I ever going to do with these? And now you're telling me that you're regularly using the heaviest bells that we sent you. So I assume that's the 62 and the 70-pound bells. Are those in your repertoire, the 28 and the 32?
That's the first.
The 44s are the 20 kg.
Yeah. And then what's the next one up?
24, which is 53 pounds.
There you go. So that's but again, being able to use 2 of those.
Yes.
And getting those.
For the double cleans.
I'm hitting them. Again, I was thinking, being up here in Tahoe, well, I'll give one of these for someone for a boat anchor.
No, sir. Those are yours.
This thing's going to be collecting dust in the side of it. I also, once I started getting in the program and seeing how quickly I was moving up the chain of those, because I started off with a couple of small 18-pound, and then it went to 30s, and then the first, and then all of a sudden using some of the big ones for the deadlift. They're getting used. They're out on the porch. When I go outside and do it, they're in the room when it's earlier in the morning or it's colder at night. Yeah, they're getting used.
How do you like that? I mean, how does it compare in your opinion to, I know you said you're a big kind of cardio junkie and just weight machines. How do you feel like especially I'm curious, at your age, I think you said are you 56 or how old are you?
Yep.
56. So 56, you never really seriously lifted. And now you're all of a sudden, doing some pretty athletic, dynamic lifting movements with the swings, the get ups, the cleans. How does it feel?
Pretty amazing. I mean, and twofold on that answer. Amazing that I can do this. Like I can actually lift this heavy weight, but also I don't feel fatigued after my
Mm,
workout. As I shared with you, I used to do different programs. One thing that my wife and I loved to do was Orange Theory. It's 1 hour of 30 minutes cardio, 30 minutes weight, but it was kind of scattered all over. And again, it might be a great program for some folks. And we did it for that whole year that we were trying to get ourselves focused in on our own health.
hmm
But honestly, I would come home exhausted
mm.
and I didn't feel healthy. I was always feeling like worn down. And then I would get up or earlier in the morning, I would go jog for a half an hour and I'd come back and I would just feel worn down. But with this program, I'm focusing on between 25 and 35 minutes of my day with an intense workout that when I get done, I'm high-fiving myself in the air. I'm like, we did it, got it done. And I feel like that's why I love doing it in the morning is I feel like I can take on anything right now. So again, it's just it's an amazing experience when looking back, and that was only 6 months ago. I still feel like the way I'm managing this program, like I've been in it for a year or 2 years.
Yeah.
That's the crazy thing about it is I sit back because the other day I was like, yeah, I guess I'm bridge mastery. I'm going into the next phase. How can that be?
Yeah, it happens fast. And that's impressive. I mean, it has happened fast for you. And I think what's fun for, at least in my position, and I'm sure in Brett's position as well, is like when a guy is as dedicated as you and has already kind of figured out how to slot this stuff in with, because I think you travel a lot too, right? Aren't you a frequent
Yeah,
traveler? So
exactly.
I mean, you're a busy guy with a lot of a lot of stuff going on. So
Yeah,
you've figured out, okay, I'm going to make this work. You still have so much to gain. I mean, you've just scratched the surface on the first two kettlebell exercises.
right.
Look a year from now, you're going to be, the weights that you're using now are going to be warm up weights, or they won't even be weights that you use. Those will be the weights that are collecting dust because you don't use them anymore because you've
Right.
gone up and up. And so it's an exciting thing to have a guy who's kind of been bitten by the bug and, seen the light. Now Brett's going to turn into a monster.
Yeah, yeah. And two things to share with you in regards to the hectic business travel, because I know there's other guys out there that are like, how do you do it? Or
Yeah.
I can't spend the time. Again, it's all about planning. I think most guys fall down, and I used to do this a while ago before this program, is when you travel, you don't eat ideally the types of foods that you should be. Again, you're at the airport, you go for the this or that. I just think before I leave on a trip, whether it be a 2 or 3 day trip back to Washington, D.C., or if I'm going somewhere else for a client, before I do that, I figure out where I need to be. I do a little research on Yelp to figure out where are those restaurants or opportunities that I can do.
Mm-hmm.
I will do a food prep and pack that with me, knowing that if I fly in late, I'm not going to be able to eat ideally.
Yep.
And just being able to plan out. The other thing that's a challenge is your workout schedules. Sometimes I can't do it on Monday and Tuesday. I got to wait till I get home on Wednesday and then just focused in on maybe a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday schedule to get in
Yeah.
those four.
Right.
It is what it is. You got to get it done. You got to get it done. But also, I look at the hotels that I'm staying at and I make sure that I am staying at somewhere that has not your hotel type of workout session that has kettlebells, or being able to find a nearby gym that you can buy a day pass for $20 or $25 and going in there and using that as a distraction or a timeout to be focused in on your session and maybe a little bit away from the hectic travel schedule. So those are just
I love
two things that I would highly recommend to folks, busy travelers, that
Yeah.
do the
So
research, do the homework, and get it done.
yeah, so do the homework, right? Scout out where you're going to eat, or maybe even bring things. I always tell guys like the easiest things to travel with are protein powder, raw nuts, fresh fruit. Like you cannot go wrong if you bring or beef jerky. Like you bring those
Yeah.
things, and if you get in late, you're going to have a healthy snack. When you're on the plane and you're like, or you're walking through the airport and you're like, ooh, Cinnabon looks good. It's like, nope, I've got a snack. I know what to do.
Yeah.
And then I like that. I never heard anyone frame it like that, but you said use the day pass as like a distraction from the grueling travel schedule, which is a great way of looking at it, right? It's like probably already stressed out being away from home. You got a lot going on. It's a good thing to take. Maybe it takes you 90 minutes instead of your, normal 35 to 40 because you have to go to the gym and all that. But still, it's a good use of your time. You're probably going to be a happier and calmer and more focused person wise.
Yeah.
When you're,
And we mostly all get back to the hotel room and we're, exhausted from eating a bad meal. And the other thing that I've done is I've cut down alcohol. And so on business travels, it's a club soda or maybe two club sodas.
Yeah.
But again, I'm not going back to that hotel room feeling like I had a bad evening of food and drink, and now I got to wake up and do this over again. Just one other part, and I don't know if this is available to most folks in the nation, but I always try to find on Yelp where a Trader Joe's is. I always know, and again, I don't know if you have it where you
we do, yeah.
Yeah, they always have like really smart, easy food that doesn't contain preservatives or comes in a box or a can. And I can just go in there. I can load up on yogurt. I can get some fresh fruit, and I can.
Is that your go-to when you travel? Are you typically like, what's your go-to? You go into Trader Joe's. What are you grabbing when you're traveling?
Yeah, I would say I'm grabbing yogurt, blueberries, bananas, and honey. They sell them in the little the small organic thing. And that's if it's late at night, I'm not going to go down, try to order room service and get some huge high calorie meal that I know I'm going to regret the next day.
Yeah.
But, they have hard boiled eggs there. They have cooked meat that's not been processed.
Yeah.
So, there's some things. I don't eat nuts, but, they have a ton of nuts that are in the health section. Vegetables, just carrots or, whatever so I do use Trader Joe's as my go-to, knowing I can always find one in whatever city I'm in. I know I can go in there, and for $20, I can usually buy 2 days worth of groceries that I can shove in the hotel. And that's kind of holds me over. That keeps me set for those in-between periods of maybe a client dinner and a late night snack.
And that's huge, right? Is knowing kind of, if I fill these gaps, I'll be able to stay on track. I'll be able to make better decisions when I go out for that client dinner because I already had some healthy protein and some filling fruit beforehand. And I think a lot of people stress about things like work travel, like how am I going to manage that? And the reality is there's probably one way that you can manage just about every one of your trips. You just need to find what that is, experience success a couple times and be like, oh, okay, so I need to go to the grocery store and get these things. I need to find either a hotel that has the type of gym I want or a drop-in, which is easy to find if you just take 10 minutes, right? And then I need to drink club soda instead of drinking alcohol. And if you do those three things, you will not stress about your travel. Is it ideal? Is it you being at home and in your environment? No, it's not that, but it doesn't mean you can't succeed. And you really only need to experience it a couple times before you're like, oh, okay, well, this actually isn't that big of a deal. Like, great. We've knocked down one objection to you being able to have the health and the consistency that you actually want. Because no guy wants to go back to his hotel room and regret the food that he ate and feel all bloated and wake up the next day and be all tired. But that happens a lot because there's just, you're not planning ahead and you're not seeing how much different it could be. So good for you. And thank you for sharing that, because I think a lot of guys who travel, it's like, just do what Mike said. It'll work really well if you just do that. So nice, man. Well, we're getting low on time and I know that you're a very busy guy. So if it's cool with you, I want to just ask you a question to wrap up that we always ask. And I'm curious what you would say to a guy who was maybe similar to a position that you were in 6 months ago. He's thinking about joining KT. Real honest advice for what you would say to that guy if he came to you. Let's say it's a family member or a friend or someone who you have a great relationship with. He says, Mike, what do you think I should do? Should I invest in KT? Why or why not? What are you saying to that?
Yeah, I think I would first just share briefly why it benefited me. And then I would ask them, what are you looking out for? Because the program is unique. And this is the one thing I learned from talking with a lot of the guys at the Austin boot camp. Everyone has different backgrounds. They all got into this for different reasons. And true that you have to be committed to yourself and keep that promise to yourself. But I think I would ask that person where they are in their life, what are you trying to do? And then try to provide some gaps. And then I would send them off on their mission of go do your homework. Because that's what happened to me. Again, I saw you folks and I always laugh when I see the testimonials of, here's Sean and here's Grant popping up. But you really, and let's be honest, there are a lot of Sean's and Grants out there on social media now. And you've got to do the homework and figure out what's best for you. And for me, that was a key. So to answer your question, I'd go back and saying, what's important to you? What do you want to do?
Yeah.
And then go do your homework. And as part of your homework, integrate this program into that and see if it works for you. Because again, it's just not a one-stop shop. This isn't a quick fix. And it's simple, but it's not easy.
Yeah. Huge. Well, if you don't mind me asking, what was the homework that you did? What got you from seeing us? And because I think you hit it on the head there. There are a lot of fitness influencers. I can't even call myself an influencer with a straight face. There are a lot of people pushing fitness programs, especially this one-on-one coaching virtual style that we do. What did you go look at, or what kind of convinced you that we were the right move?
So your overall concept of strength training with kettlebells. And that was something kind of foreign to me. Again, you'd pick up maybe for me a 10 or 15 weight at the Orange Theory session, and that was my weight training. But to all of a sudden start looking into, and not looking at your resources, looking at other professionals in healthcare and also in fitness, talking about how kettlebells are really instrumental when they're done correctly. And then looking at your program and realizing that you kind of have 5 or 6 things that you just need to do really well and consistent. You weren't asking me to do 20 things or some type of matrix that I had to sit there and study and going, okay, what's today? It's, I kind of joke around. I call it the W's: water, walking, weight measurement, what you eating, and what's my weekly session with coach. And then finally, the weight trainings. Those W's are always playing in my head. And again, as goofy it is, because I couldn't put a WWWE. I had to put a what you eat for
that's
me.
Perfect.
But that's what got me through. That's what constantly reminds me of what I need to do. Again, going back to your question, I would just say that I did my homework, figured out, looking at different resources of the concepts that you folks promoted. The thing that I didn't know, and this is what I was like, added bonus, was the support of your program. Not only like you and Grant, but with my coach, the community, being able to high five each other and sometimes people giving you a kick in the butt, or sometimes just saying attaboy. So that whole idea of the support and the encouragement, I never found that out in my homework, but that was a huge rationale after the fact of I made the right decision.
Yeah, I love that. I think a lot of guys don't come, even if they know that exists because they've been told that's not something where they're like, okay, well, that's going to be, maybe I'll use that, but it probably won't be a big deal. And then they get into it and it becomes something that is like, oh, well, this is actually awesome, because now I don't feel like I'm just on my own, or, it's helpful to be part of a community, especially when you got guys like you who are facing similar life challenges, but also doing the same workout program and the same walking. The last guy that I did this interview with, Mike Waskovich, he's got 8 kids, but he's like 51, 52. He travels a ton for work. And he was telling me how he hasn't missed a single 10,000 step day. Yeah. And he lives in Cleveland. And so there he is in Cleveland with his big family and his demanding job. And there you are in Tahoe with your big family and your demanding job. And you guys are both getting out there and doing your steps. You're both doing the kettlebell workouts, starting from scratch, just lifting for the first time real, in your 50s. Mm-hmm. That's not nothing. That's a real, I feel like, energy that it's hard to really explain that. But once you get in and you feel it, I think it's meaningful. So it's nice to hear. Well, thank you, man. Honestly, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you taking time out of your day to tell us your story and just to.
I'm really happy to do this again. It's a privilege to talk to you, and also, with Grant from time to time, with my coach on the weekly things, because you guys have really found something unique and special. And
well, thank you.
I'm very, very fortunate, and I'm very blessed that I found this and I'm part of this community.
Yeah, love it, man. Well, we right back at you, and especially for sharing your W's. I can't wait to start using that. The what you eating got me a good chuckle, because I'm like, what's he going to use for food? You came with what you eating. And I'm like, that is brilliant. Oh, thank you. That was a good one. All right,
We'll
Mike. Well, it's
see you later.
great to chat with you,
We'll
man.
see you at
Thank you
the
so
next.
much.
We'll see you at the next boot camp.
Yeah, maybe it's going to be Tahoe. Now you got me dreaming of Lake Tahoe. So maybe we'll put that together.
Absolutely, that'd be great.
All right,
All right,
Mike. Thanks,
all
man.
right. So take care.
All right, you as
Okay.
well. All
Okay.
right, see you,
Bye
Sarah.
now.
Bye bye.